So hello guys, good morning or whatever time you're watching this. Today we are starting our anatomy series, and instead of starting from random places, I thought it wise to start it system by system. And today we are starting our cardiovascular system. And before I continue, let me ask this question. When you hear cardiovascular system, what comes to your mind? When we hear the cardiovascular system, what mostly comes to our mind is the heart and the blood vessel. We know the heart is the pump, the one that pumps the blood, while the blood vessel is the one that carries the blood to and fro. Then before I start, I would like to drop a fun fact. Fun fact, do you know that our heart beats 100,000 times like in a day, and that is like 35 million times in a year, and 2.5 billion times and in an average 75 years lifespan. I know you haven't heard of that. Now we'll be talking about the blood vessel mainly today, but before I start with the blood vessel, let's talk about the location of the heart and the size of the heart. They said when you make a fist, that the size of your fist is the size of your heart, and the heart weighs 250 to 350 grams depending on the individual. And then the location, as you make a fist, you put it at the center and then tilt it a little bit to the left, and that is the location of your heart. And it's located at the mediastinum, which is, don't overthink it. I will explain what the mediastinum is. The mediastinum is the chest compartment, that is the thorax area that separates the lungs, the two lungs, and it contains vital organs such as the heart, the blood vessel, and the esophagus and other organs. It contains them, and that's what mediastinum is, and that is where the heart is lying. And then we are going to be talking about the blood vessel. The blood vessel, there are different sizes and different functions. And then, as you can see on the screen, they are the artery and they are the vein. The arteries are the one that carries the blood from the heart, and the artery and the arterioid carry the blood from the heart and branches off as the capillaries. And the capillaries, they are thin wall. Their wall is not that thick. It makes it easy for diffusion to take place, for nutrients, oxygen and all that to diffuse into the system, while the bad blood, the one with the carbon dioxide, is being diffused into the bloodstream and is being carried to the vein and then to the heart for oxygen exchange in the lungs. And that's that. And there, as I mentioned, there are the arteries. The artery branches off has arterioids, and then the capillaries, which makes it easy for gaseous exchange. And then these arteries, like the blood vessel, there are different layers of these arteries, and they are the outer layer, the middle layer, and then the innermost layer. The outer layer, which is known as the tunica adventitia, which is the outer layer that is made up of fibrous tissue, layers of fibrous tissue. It contains collagen and other connective tissues components. And then they have the tunica media. The tunica media is the middle layer. And let's take note. Let's go back. The tunica adventitia, what's the function? The function is they protect and support the vessel, while the middle layer, the tunica media, is it contains this smooth muscle. It contains smooth muscle and elastic tissue. And what does it do? When the blood is passing through the artery, the blood that is coming from the heart to the artery, it comes with so much pressure, and this elastic tissue and the elasticity of the tunica media, it helps the vessel to be able to withstand the pressure that is coming directly from the blood, coming directly from the heart, and that is the function. And then the last one, which is the innermost, we have the tunica intima. This tunica intima is also known as the endothelium, and it's made up of thin one cell thin, like one this thing cell thin wall. Is not that thin. It's not that thin like the other layers of the artery. And now we all know that after we talk about any organ or that, we talk about the blood vessel that is supplying them. This blood vessel, especially the large ones, the big blood vessels such as the aorta and the pulmonary artery, these big blood vessels, they have layers, and that's why the blood cannot easily be supplied to the outer parts. So they need an extra blood vessel, a special blood vessel to supply the outer parts, and that's what we call the vasa vasorum, which supplies this area, because they can't get blood supply by easily from the blood that is passing through from the transfusion of the blood that is passing through them. So they need an extra blood vessel. And then for illustration, let's imagine it this way, that this big vessel, they are like small house, and you know that in a big house, in a mansion, they have upstairs and downstairs and upstairs, they have different rooms. And in this big house, there's only one kitchen, and this kitchen cannot feed those that are upstairs and downstairs, so they need an extra food delivery service. And that is how this is. There are different layers of these arteries that blood cannot supply throughout them to the outer parts by just passing through them, from the diffusion of passing through them. So they need an extra vessel, which is the vasa vasorum. While the smaller vessel, smaller vessel, then they don't have that much layers, such as the arteries and the capillaries. They are thin. Their walls are much thinner than the arteries, like the aorta. They are more thinner, so they easily get blood supply, nutrient supply, just by the diffusion of blood passing through them. They can easily get blood supply. Hope you understand what we've learned so far. And for recap, for understanding sake, let's go back to all we've said. We first talked about the heart, the location, and the weights and the size. They said as you make a fist, the size of your fist, that's the size of your heart, and the heart weighs 250 to 350 grams, depending on the individual. Then the location, it is located at the mediastinum, and I explain what the mediastinum is. It is just a central compartment in the chest area. This is the thorax that separates the lungs, the two lungs, and it contains vital organs such as the heart, the blood vessels, and the esophagus, and all other organs that are there. And then we talk about the blood vessels. They are different structures and their size and function, which we started with the arteries. The arteries and the arteria, they carry blood from the heart, and then there's branches off as capillaries, which makes it easy for exchange of nutrients and other to the tissue. And then diffusion of carbon, the blood that has carbon dioxide back to the bloodstream, which passes through the vein and then to the heart for gaseous exchange. And then we talked about the layers of these arteries. We have which we mentioned, the tunica adventitia, the tunica media, and then the tunica intima, which we said the tunica adventitia, they protect and support the vessel, while the tunica media, which is the one that has smooth muscle and elastic tissue that helps the vessel to withstand the pressure that is coming from this on the blood. And then they have the tunica intima, which is the one that also called the endothelium, that are just one cell thick. And then we also talked about the blood that is supplying these blood vessels. And we said that the big vessels, such as the aorta and the pulmonary artery, they are so big, they have different layers, that the outer layer cannot get blood supply just from the blood passing through from the diffusion of the blood passing through them. So they need an extra blood vessel, which is called the vaso vasorum, which meaning the vessel of the vessels. And then we also made an illustration using a big house, and then we talked about how the small vessel gets blood supply just by blood passing through them, which we make an illustration using a small heart. Hope you understand this so far. So we meet at the next anatomy.